Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, would you take roll call, please?
Dave Abdallah.
Here.
Bill Bazey.
Here.
Robert Constant.
Here.
Lisa Hicks Clayton.
Here.
Denise Malinowski Maxwell.
Here.
Ray Muscat.
Here.
Tom Wenzel.
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everyone, please be seated. Next item, we have agenda approval.
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move to approve the amended order of business, October 8th, 2019, regular meeting of Dearborn Heights City Council with the addition of 11B.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Bazey. Is there any questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. This is minutes from the regular meeting of September 24th, 2019.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Abdullah.
I move that we approve the minutes from the September 24th, 2019 regular meeting of the Dearborn Heights City Council as outlined in item 4A.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Hicks Clayton. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda is public hearing and comment on agenda items. These are items on the agenda today, and there is a limit of 2 minutes. Is there any comment? Okay, seeing none. Next item on the agenda is fund transfers and current claims.
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move to approve fund transfers and current claims 6-1 through 626 as submitted.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Abdullah. Is there any discussion?
Council Chair.
Ray was first.
Councilman Muscat.
I have a few items that I have a question with, and I'm just going to name them all off. It's 6-1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 18, 23, and 24. These are all from the water budget. I did send an email to our comptroller, and she did give me an email back. But I just want to state, every one of these, and this has been done in the past with the water department, amount budget before payment is always blank. Now, I don't know how anybody can approve anything when the amount budget before payment is not on. How do I know what money is in the accounts? Now, I can go look them up, yeah, but this is not proper way of doing business.
Well, moving forward, can we ask them to please fill that in the future?
Now,
We've asked that many times, Council Chair.
and I have the email she sent me, and I somewhat understand it, but I don't understand it. The last budget we approved, we didn't have a budget for the water fund. Regardless if there's a budget or not, there's money in the water fund. So we got to know what money's in there to be able to approve a payment, regardless if it's $50 or $50,000 or $500,000. And all of these don't show me anything.
Well,
So I don't want to hold up payment to anything. I don't, okay? But I'd like to see all of these, and I had asked for it in my email for a printout of everything that was in each one of these accounts, what was paid out. And I did not receive that, so I'm still going to be waiting for that.
Well-
But I just want to make sure that we have that put. Water is a critical issue for everyone in the city.
well, what we can do moving forward is in the future, if they do come to the clerk's office and they do not have that filled in, we can refer it back to them to have it filled in before it's put on the agenda. We'll do that. I'll go, when I approve the agenda, I will look for that in the future. And if it's not filled in, it will be referred back to the proper departments.
I mean, I went back and I looked at some of these accounts myself to see what was, an older statement that I had. But, so I know money's there, but then I want to know what's been spent out of each one, because it doesn't, if I want to go back in my records and see this amount for $28,409, what was it before and see it being
Understandable.
subtracted out.
It's like a checkbook. Everybody knows what's in their
Yes,
checkbook
we have a
before they write
ledger and we
check.
have a journal. So one gets passed over to the other, so I don't see how we can do proper finance reporting. I just don't see it. So, but I'm not going to say no on this, but I just want to make it clear that I'm watching it very carefully because water is a big issue for everyone.
Thank you. Is there any further comment?
May I speak?
Go ahead, Director, I mean,
Okay,
Comptroller.
so I did explain that there is no water budget at this point. This is the historical way that it's been done here at the city. After the audit's done, they figure out the true numbers, they create the budget. It's approved usually by December of every year. So that's why most of these accounts don't have a budget right now, because we don't have a budget. By law, for an enterprise fund for municipalities, you technically don't necessarily have to approve a budget. Of course, it's in the best interest, and we do, as a city, do that. Some of the items that you will see, any of the accounts that are considered the inventory accounts, that is a balance sheet account, and that's never going to have a budget because you don't have a budget on the balance sheet. So even after we do get a budget in place, you won't see a balance on those particular items where it's the inventories, like the gasoline purchases and the auto parts and the tires and whatever. Those will never have a budget. I did give Mr. Muscat a revenue and expenditure report for the water fund, which shows what has been spent. Most of these expenses, if you look at them, are reoccurring water and sewer. We have to pay for the water and the sewer disposal and the things associated with that, and some construction that we had. So, I mean, I could break it down, but I figured that would be the easiest way for him to see it. And like I said, typically it's done by December.
Okay, thank you.
But again, you know, we have
We
the, like, Old Orchard Pond Restoration Certificate of Payment number 1. Now, we brought this up at the last council meeting. Okay, an amount of $20,758, 592, 537, 981.002.
So,
I don't want the people to think that I don't want this project to go ahead, because I do. I voted for it, and I wanted it, but we were led to believe that the city was going to spend $250,000 in that, out of the water fund, and that was it. And now I don't know what we've spent.
I sent you information last meeting.
Yes.
As of that last meeting, there was $1,000 spent per the agreement that was signed in, I don't know, March or April, with the group that's involved and their special assessment. When the budget is created, you can see on that line that I sent you that there is an expense line for the Old Orchard. The budget will be in there, but it will be the combined residents portion and the city's $250 for that whole budget. So that budget will be like, what, $560,000? And you can follow it from there once it starts. We really haven't had any purchase payments relative to that, except for the one for the $1,000, and I think it was a $3,000 bill.
My thing is not with you, and I understand that you're doing, what you're doing is you're doing right. My big thing is when you have a project and you say 250, that should include all, you know, when you have a project, you know you have engineering services, you know you're going to involve attorneys, so all that should be included in that one item.
So
we didn't do it.
The engineering is included in that item, and the attorney services that I gave you was prior to the agreement, and it was to create the agreement. And if you looked at the numbers, there was a little bit of a surplus, but of course we have to make sure at the end that there isn't any change orders that have to happen, and that would cover the $9,000 of attorney fees, and it would still be in our part of the $250,000, well within it. Even though it came out of the general fund, it's still, the city paid for it. So at this point, it looks like it will be within that threshold.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on. Is there any other
Madam
comments?
Chair.
Councilman Abdullah was next.
Okay, I had a question for the DPW director on item number 618.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it's a correction more than more of a statement correction. On the accounts title on that one, it says Pond Restore, and obviously there's no pond near there. This particular one is for Star Fence Company for fence installation on Robindale and Nightingale at a property 7491 Robindale, and the property directly behind it on Nightingale. But then it says Pond Restore 9800. Can you
Yeah, so
Clarify that for me.
I don't know who put the pond restore on there, the pond has nothing to do with this. This is the emergency sewer repair that I brought to the mayor, and he had sent an email to the council back on June 13th, where we had to replace about 350 feet of sanitary sewer in the rear yards.
Can we
had
get
to
that
remove-
corrected then?
Pardon me?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So we had to remove all the existing fence, take down trees, to be able to get excavators in there, remove the old pipe, put the new pipe in, reconnect everybody, and then install new fences and all the connecting fences to that fence that was running north and south. So I don't know why Orchard Pond's on there.
Can that be
It has nothing to do
corrected?
with Orchard Pond.
Can we get that corrected, obviously?
It's on the,
It says pond restore, but it's not orchard.
well,
It's a different
so
number.
the council's only familiar with Orchard Pond, so I'm assuming that's
Yeah.
what they're.
Yeah, well, there's no pond there, so
Sure that when the invoice is paid, if we're correct.
But I don't know
Okay.
why.
can we have a backup on
And I
that?
don't know either, I mean, that would
Because it
have,
has nothing to do with it, the invoice is pretty clear that it's routed down, so.
well,
Did you have?
He can say it. A backup.
the GO account that was put on this is 592-537-973, and that was your writing.
Okay, so per
It's
council,
an error though, so it can be fixed to whatever.
can we get, per Councilman Ray Muscat, can we get a backup on that if you don't mind?
When it happens.
When it happens?
When it happens.
Corrected version.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
I had a second question, I'm sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
With this particular fencing company, I'm not a fence expert, but the numbers seem to be pretty high. So question is, I know we may not put this particular address for RFP, but did we do any type of RFPs to make sure that the charges that we are getting from this particular fence company, who I know, and this is no reflection on Star Fence Company, which is a very reputable company, but did we get any type of RFPs to make sure that the costs involved are in line with what's normal for the industry?
Yeah, so this, again, was emergency repair. The contractor that did the underground work gave me a budget of $165, which the council was aware of through the email, and we're under the $165. We used Star because they were a local company. The contractor did look around at some contracting prices, and believe it or not, chain link fencing is pretty expensive.
Okay, and I'm always in favor to use local companies, so that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Bazey.
I have a few questions. The first one is 6.1. There's 6.2 also, which is pretty much the same. This is for DPW, and second one's for ordinance. So you have sidewalk work for $28,400 on the first one. That's 6.1. I don't know why it was billed to DPW. I don't know if that's, like some of them it says patchwork, catch basin repair, so if there's water main issues. But others, it says that they're just sidewalk repairs. So why does it have that? Why does not? I just want to make sure that this doesn't fall under the ordinance, not
Right,
DPW.
so, times we have broken water mains that'll undermine the sidewalk, or we have to take out the sidewalk when they're excavating to make the repair. If we do stop box repairs, we typically have to take out the sidewalk, so that's included in the repairs on the water and sewer side. It has nothing to do with the ordinance.
Okay.
Ordinance piece of it.
Thank you. The other one, actually, I need information on, for the ordinance ones, we have a bunch of them. When can we have a spreadsheet that actually has all the homes that they had work done to it? So we know when does the residents get billed for the work that the city is actually performing?
Director McIntyre?
Yep. So our typical process with that is, once the work is complete, in fact, the contractor was in the building department today paying for his permits. Once he pays for those permits for those properties, the building department goes out and inspects them. Once they've been approved by the building department, then we bill the residents.
Oh, thank
Okay,
you.
so, okay, I guess I'll defer that till I see the list. The second one, the third one, you got 611, Gas B 74/75 for a charge of $2,100. I didn't know that Nyhart Company was actually doing the work. I don't know what they did. It just has an invoice. I thought Plant Moran was doing the Gas B stuff when they came in here and discussed it.
The Neihart Company is the actuarial firm that does the actual GASB study, and then it's Plant Moran that audits it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I guess this question is for the comptroller. The same question that Councilman Muscat actually touched on a little bit ago. You have, okay, item number, okay, that one I just, okay, so you have two different funds on here for the 101-200-817, 000.
What number is that?
615. Okay, so if you look at 611, item 611, you show that for the same account number, in the amount of $259,658.94, and you took $2,100 out of that account. So if you look at item 615, for the same account number, so you would think that you minus the 2,100. So now this item has Plant Moran on here for $44,000, and now all of a sudden we have $80,000 extra in that account. And again, that's my
They're not
problem.
matching.
It doesn't match, and you know, I mean, having a mayor for a CPA, you think we have better numbers in here that is balanced.
What do you mean, what doesn't match?
611 and 615.
615, you got 259,000 with 2,100 minus that.
Then
And
all
the
of a
next one,
sudden-
you have $337,706.
So,
So that is, if you're looking at the end numbers, is that what you're saying?
the amount
Yeah, the
budget
amount
before
before budget.
payment.
Oh, okay. So 259,
And 337,000.
okay, so that would be mathed in my office, and I would have to look to see why the numbers, when he does it in the order that he does it, he looks in the budget and sees what's available. I would have to look to see why the math of it doesn't amount before budget. There might be some other professional service that went in there in between that could be in that same account number. That's not dedicated to the auditors, that is just any professional services. So there could be other items in between there that even might be in these claims that are still going to that account number.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, last question, yes. Okay, you have 615, you have a charge for $44,000 for Plant Moran. And I know we just approved the similar amount last meeting, which is about 2 weeks ago. So now, from January till today, we have almost $170,000 in charges for audit fees. So that's not including the other items that they're doing for us for HR, which is totaling close to $40,000 so far from January. So since the mayor's not here, I'd like somebody to answer the question, why we're paying, I mean, as of January till today, the year's not over yet, we got $170,000 for an audit. I did some investigation with other municipalities, cities, and they don't pay anywhere near this amount, you know, for an audit. So I just like to find out why we're paying this amount so far.
Yeah, I would have to see that number. I mean, I know that they bill us for certain different projects. I don't know if it's all the audit that I would have to look at the invoices, because they date it and they give you the time span. So I don't think it was that high, but I would really have to look at.
It's 170. I looked at every one of them from January. You can go back to January, look at it, you'll get.
No, I can.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I'll look to see.
Okay, I'd like to find out for the next meeting, please.
Okay, thank you. Any other?
Madam
That's it
Chair.
for now.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Councilman Buzz,
Oh,
you
you
finished?
done?
Okay, go ahead.
Councilwoman Hicks
All
Clayton.
right, thank you, Madam Chair. This is for Police Chief, Vault Attorney, the item 621. And I guess my concern is, we've talked about this prior to you being chief. All due respect to the business, you look at these, first of all, 7 of the 10 sheets are barely legible. I mean, trying to decipher what actually was done, what vehicle, you can't even read the information. It's very incomplete. And we did ask for, many years ago, probably at least 6 years ago, we asked for a minimum of at least having the VIN numbers for tracking purposes. And pretty much every one of these don't have that information. And to draw your attention to item invoice number, well, it's the work order 41554. I don't even know what was done on this for $32. I can't even read it. So can you
It
help?
says mayor's vehicle on this
Yeah,
one.
and I had that flagged also.
41554.
Yeah, and now that's my, because that's what I thought it said too. But again, it's not very, and again, 7 of 10 sheets, you can't even read these. And I think for us to be approving expenditures, we need to have more information that is clear. And I don't know if it's a copy on our behalf or on their behalf, where, again, these sheets, you can't read any of the information. So how do we approve something like that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, well, this is like the 4th copy that you guys received, so it's been copied over. I will make sure that they include the VIN number and print clear, and if they don't print it, they'll send it back, send the invoice back, so it's correct.
Question, piggyback on that, why would the mayor's car be repaired under your budget? That's not a police car. Not a police car.
That was my take on that one too.
That should be out of his budget, out of his office budget. You should not be paying for anything but police vehicles.
Well, that's an issue for yourself and the mayor to take up, but
Well-
you asked me to build, it was built to the police department, so.
Well, I believe that the comptroller and the clerk shouldn't be paying that because that's not a police vehicle. Not at all.
Madam Chair, I know we have a motion on the floor to approve it because I made the motion. I would actually like amend my motion, take this item out, because I do want to see cleaner copies.
What, the whole item?
Yes.
So,
621.
I personally checked each one of those invoices, and I can verify that each car was a police car that received work on it.
Except for the mayor's.
Messing with the vendor like that isn't, I don't think it's appropriate.
Understand, but we need VIN numbers. That's something we've talked about for years, right?
No, at first it was just to verify that it had a license plate on it.
I did mention VIN numbers. We
Well-
talked
But
about
we
that
can't
many
do
years
that
ago.
with some vehicles, and we
Yes.
discussed that before.
And that should be up to the department head to approve it. If you don't believe me, ask me for the
You know,
information.
we discussed it
No,
because
I
there are
will-
certain vehicles that we don't
Right.
want to
Understand.
identify.
But we don't even
Correct.
have that. I mean, again, you're getting, what are you getting here? It's hard to read it.
$3,909.
Right.
I can see what most of it is, and I don't want to mess with public speaking on police vehicles and what their identification numbers are. I don't think that's prudent for us to do to our police officers who
Well,
need to
some of
be
these do need to
incognito.
be identified, though, Councilman. Some of these definitely are not always, we've got the fire department here, or no, that's the police department, okay. But,
It's hard to read.
like I say, the mayor's vehicle is not the police department, and it should be identified.
Madam Chair?
Councilman Abdullah?
The only challenge I've got with this, and I do see the Councilwoman's point, but sometimes on some of this stuff, if we call some of the department heads ahead of time, like in this particular case, and said, hey, I can't read these, and we get these on Thursday, hey, I can't read this, can you send me a better copy? Then this way we could be a little bit more fair to the vendors too, so to make sure they get paid on time, if it is a correct billing.
Because this one here
If
is
it's
really good.
incorrect, then I see the point. But I'm saying if it's correct billing, if it's just a matter of a copy, then maybe a call should have been made on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever, and say, let me get a better copy, and then we can make a decision. Because unfortunately, we're starting to do that a lot more with a lot more and more vendors. And my concern is,
Well-
you're going to get some vendors that are not going to want to work with us
Well, I
anymore.
guess if they give us a clear copy, they'll get paid.
No,
I mean,
I
this
get
one's a
that.
clear copy.
I
Look
get
at this
that.
one, how clear it is.
No, I get that.
And that one,
And I've noticed that too, that we're not that clear. But what I'm saying, if
Yeah.
that's a problem, whether it's this situation or other situations, if we call ahead of time and ask whatever particular department, I mean, like right now, you've just seen 4 or 5 different things where we've put department heads on the spot, and they're not going to have the stuff off the top of their heads.
well, they know when they take it to the clerk's office if the copy's clear or not. So as long as they make sure it's clear, we should have no problem.
Council Chair.
Madam Chair, may I
Councilwoman
address
Hicks
that real
Clayton?
quick? You know, in all fairness, Councilman Abdullah, I do call the department heads and correspond with them. I'm pretty sure they can testify to that. This has like been an ongoing thing that we've talked about for years, okay? And again, it's like if you got a bill into your home and you couldn't read the bill, and it was hand scribbled written, and it's light and you can't read it, are you paying that bill?
No, I get that, but
You know,
I'm saying...
and again, it's okay, I'm just saying, I just want to
Yeah.
clarify, I don't want to get into that. Plus, no, we don't call on Saturday and Sunday or Friday because, you know, there's no one available, you understand? All due respect, sir, I just want to clarify that, I don't want to think I'm not trying to address this. And I want people to get paid. I don't want to say that I don't want someone to get paid. I'm asking for what the council as a body's been asking for a while, and that is that when we receive, and if I could show people this, I mean, there's really hardly anything written on here, and there's this big mark, and I don't even know what that is. So, what does that mean? If you got that bill into your home, are you paying this? And yet, we're the stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, and I trust you, Chief, and I know what you're telling me, but we have our due diligence we have to do, and we have to ask the question and say, why is this not filled out when we talk about this for years now? And I know at one point we were getting the information. So, and even the VIN numbers, yes, we were, if you recall. I'm sure some of you recall we were getting that information that does not jeopardize the vehicle. Or when you're talking about, let's say, undercover, for example, we don't want to jeopardize them either. But in all fairness, if we're going to be spending taxpayers' dollars, we need to make sure we have the right information to do so. Otherwise, we're just signing a blank check and saying, hey, there you go spend the taxpayers' money without, I don't know, you know, that's not how we do this.
Okay. Any other discussion?
We have the original motion on the floor, so what we voting on the original motion of 6-1?
Woman Hicks Clayton, what would you like to do?
I wanted a minute to take 621 out, Madam Chair.
Okay.
But we have to have a second.
Second?
Yeah, it fails.
I'll go second.
Councilman Wenzel? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Opposed?
no.
Okay. Councilman Muscat is opposed, everybody. So we have amended the motion on the table to remove 6-21.
621?
Yep. Okay, any further discussion on fund transfers and current claims? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Opposed. I'm going to say no now because 621 isn't in there, so I'll say no.
Councilman Muscat, Councilman Bazey, and Councilman Wenzel are opposed. It passes. Okay, next we have reports from city officials. We have DPW Director Selmy, Wayne County Intergovernmental Agreement.
Madam Chair?
Councilman Abdullah.
I move that we concur with Director of Public Works, John Selmy, with intergovernmental agreement between Wayne County and the City of Dearborn Heights for improvements of E-N Hines Drive from Otter Drive west to Ford Road. The estimated total amount for the project is $94,329. And Wayne County is also asking for $47,164 for the working capital advance. And he is asking the City Council approve this item and also authorize the mayor and the clerk to sign this agreement and also to authorize the payment for this project as outlined in item 9A.
Second.
Support by Councilwoman Hicks Clayton. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Councilman Abdullah?
This is what Director Selmy, I just wanted to get a correction on this, and I spoke with you about this, but I just wanted to say it to others, just in case for others. This particular one in the contract and in the first page, it says from Outer Drive west to Ford Road. So I knew obviously that couldn't be correct. So it's going to have to say from Ford Road west to Outer Drive or from Outer Drive east to Ford Road to get it corrected. And it was wrongfully typo, obviously, but it's got to be corrected in the contract.
And I spoke to Councilman Abdullah, and I'll reach out to the county too, because that was in their document too, so to get them to change that before the mayor and the clerk sign.
Okay, Councilman Muscat.
Has our corporate council looked at this and approved this?
Yeah, back in July.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have DPW Director Selmy, Water Department Office Equipment Purchase and Payment, Pitney Bowes Relay, $5,000, Inserter, and SendPro 1500 mail machine.
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move to concur with Public Works Director John Selmy and grant permission to purchase from Pitney Bowes a Relay 5000 inserter machine in the amount of $18,584.02, as well as a SendPro 1500 mail machine, the amount of $7,024.75. This is a total of $25,608.77. This, of course, was made under the MI purchasing program, and it's to come out of the account number 592981000 in the water and sewer capital outlay budget as outlined in 9B.
Support.
Support by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion?
Council Chair.
Councilman Wenzel.
Director, can you explain what those two items are?
Sure. So that's how the bills get printed. They get inserted into this machine. Machine takes the bill, puts it in, folds the letter, puts it in the envelope, seals the envelope.
Does it address it's all addressed and everything in one step?
Yes. Actually, and this is an upgrade to currently what the city has. It also allows for a second and third page, so if you want to put a mailer in there, a card, so we can do some public notifications or events, any type of thing like that. So the capability is much greater than currently.
Is it used strictly for water bills?
They can be used for any type of bill.
It's out of the water budget though, right? What it is? Out of the water budget?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, DPW Director Selmy, Water Department Office Equipment Purchase and Payment, Pitney Bowes RISO High-Speed Inkjet Printer.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Constant.
I move we concur with our DPW Director, John Selmy, and authorize the purchase of one RISO high-speed inkjet printer for $25,101.68 as outlined in 9C from the Water and Sewer Capital Outlay budget.
Support.
Support by Councilman Abdullah. Is there any discussion?
Council Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
I know that we need these, and it goes on, it's going to go for 9D and 9E, so I'm going to take them all one time. Everything's coming out of the water and sewer capital budgets. But here we got a printer that's going to be in one building. Now, I know that other departments are going to use it. I know it, just as sure as I'm sitting here breathing. Really.
Well, we can, if some of the other departments want to step up and split the
Somebody's going
cost,
to be in that building, and somebody's going to be putting...
But in all fairness, for the ink printer, there's already a printer in the office that is shared by the staff here in this building. The purpose for this printer is a standalone machine for the water bills only, because the type of paper that is needed and the type of ink it correlates with the machine that you just approved.
Okay.
So this is the reason why we got this other machine. It's a standalone machine that can do 900 pages.
Okay.
And it's critical because of the way the ink dries, how the machine picks it up, how it folds it, and how it stuffs it in the envelope. They currently are struggling to do that. I have personal experience with these Pitney Bowes machines, and
I'll take your word for it.
They're very well. They work very well.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have DPW Director Selmy, Water Department Equipment Purchase and Payment for two 2020 Ford Transit 250 mid-roof crew vans.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Abdullah.
I move that we concur with John Selmy, Public Works Director, requesting permission to purchase two 2020 Ford Transit 250 mid-roof crew van from Gordon Ford in the amount of $41,565 each for a total cost of $83,130. And this purchase will be expensed out from the water and sewer capital outlay budget, and also authorized payment upon receipt, as outlined in item 9D.
Second.
Supported by Councilwoman Hicks Clayton. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Councilman Abdullah.
Director, can you give us the specific need for this? I mean, did two break down? What's the situation?
So they have one vehicle now that's aging. So basically, this is for the crews that go out in the field. Instead of them taking a dump truck or a bigger truck, it's a more economical way to transport our crews to do service type of work. The current vehicle we have, we'll hand down to the mechanics. The vehicle they have is pretty much in disrepair, so we can hand that vehicle down to them, and we can replace with 2 new ones out of the water budget that were budgeted before I got here.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Councilman Wenzel?
are these vans going to require any other equipment once they're purchased, like shelving and other equipment that goes inside of them?
These are completely outfitted with shelving, bench seats, so they're ready to go. Ford has a package, work truck package, that they'll be totally outfitted with lights, cabinets, everything that is needed for the operation.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have DPW Director Salmi again. Water Department equipment purchase and payment for 2 2020 F-250 4x4 pickup trucks.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Abdullah.
I move that we concur with John Selmy, Public Works Director, requesting permission to purchase 2 2020 Ford F-250 4x4 pickup trucks from Gordon Ford in an amount of $41,310 each for a total cost of $82,620. These will be purchased under the MI deal purchasing program, and it will be expensed out from an account in the Water and Sewer Capital Outlay budget, and also authorized payment upon receipt as outlined in item 9E.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Constant. Is there any discussion?
Council Chair,
Madam Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
I'm going to go back to this again. Here's 2 pickup trucks. How are we going to know that these vehicles are solely for water?
Well, the council has approved pickups for highway and building in prior meetings, and these 2 are definitely are dedicated to the Water and Sewer Department. They will go to the supervisors. The two supervisors' vehicles will go to the meter readers and replace their vehicles that are basically obsolete.
Thank you very much for that explanation.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have District Court Administrator Atkins, purchase and payment for 5 Dell Latitude 550 laptops.
Council Chair,
Councilman Muscat.
I move council approve the payment for 5 Dell Latitude 500 laptops at a cost not to exceed $5,502.85 as outlined in 9F.
Supported by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next is also for District Court Administrator Atkins to purchase and payment for technology equipment upgrade in 2 courtrooms.
Council Chair,
Councilman Muscat.
I also move council authorize the purchase and approve payment for an upgrade of the courtroom technology equipment in the 2 courtrooms as outlined in 9G.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, Fire Chief Brogan, permission to make purchases and payment via MEDC grant.
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move to concur with Fire Chief David Brogan and make the purchases, which you see listed here, 9H, and this is related to Michigan Economic Development Grant. The total purchases is $3,683.87 to be paid out of capital outlay upon receipt, as outlined in 9H.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, Fire Chief Brogan, permission to purchase and payment firefighting foam.
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Move to concur with Fire Chief David Brogan, authorize the purchase of 110 gallons of Class A firefighting foam. Total cost is $1,874 to be paid out of supplies upon receipt, as outlined in 9I.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion?
Council Chair.
Councilman Wenzel.
Chief, this foam, have we used it in the past?
Yeah, we've used the foam. We've had it for a long time. The newer trucks come with a foam tank built in, so we use it a lot more now than we used to. The truck in the south end that we got with the TIF funds, that one has the foam capability, so we've been using it on that, and then the new ladder truck has it as well.
Under what circumstances would you use foam?
We use it, so if you go into a house fire, we initially knock the fire down with water, and then when we're all done, it helps to limit the damage by putting the foam on. It helps to kind of smother the fire, and you have to use a lot more water without the foam and it can cause more water damage in that. And you could use it in some limited instances for some fuel spills and that, but if we have anything large with fuel, we're going to be calling the airport for a bigger foam truck.
Is this environmentally safe, the foam?
Yeah, you'll hear a lot about PFAS now. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. Michigan is really advanced with the PFAS. There's like California is, and then on the East Coast there is, and besides that, the middle of the country, there's not much reporting of it, but it's throughout the whole country. Michigan just happens to be one of the states that's really reporting on it. But none of our foam has PFAS. We work with the state fire marshal. They were trying to get a count on how much there is out in the firefighting community, because that's one of the bit, like waterproofing. There's some carpeting, a lot of industries that have PFAS. Firefighting foam was one of them. None of the foam we have has the PFAS in it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. Next, we have Fire Chief Brogan, permission to accept federal regional AFG grant.
Council Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
I move City Council give permission to Chief Brogan to accept the assistance to the firefighters regional grant. The total grant is $2,439,950. The Dearborn Heights portion will be paid for $84,594, and they'll be purchasing radios, mobile radios, and headsets as outlined in 9J.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. Next, under ordinances and resolutions, we have Councilman Muscat, first reading of ordinance H-19-08, unsolicited written materials.
Council Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
I move City Council approve the first reading of ordinance H-19-08 for unsolicited written materials. This was something that I tried to do back in 2016 for the newspapers that are thrown on the driveways. Just recently, there was a court case out of Kentucky, I believe, and I forwarded all the information to our corporation counsel, and he was kind enough to go through the material and help me write this ordinance. It's too lengthy to go through, but as outlined in 11A.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Councilman Abdullah.
I just have a question for our counsel, Gary. Just wanted to make sure, I know at one point where I'm totally in support of this, by the way, but I know at one point, one of the concerns that you had with this type of an ordinance would be, or at least you had mentioned something in regards to freedom of speech issues with the particular vendor that we believe mostly throws out this stuff on people's driveways. Has that been addressed?
Well, those issues were addressed in the, this ordinance is modeled after a Kentucky ordinance, which was modified by a Dearborn ordinance, which I took and improved upon, and that's what we have here. The Kentucky ordinance was challenged on the First Amendment grounds. It was upheld both in an original decision with regard to a preliminary injunction. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit upheld it, which is the court just under the U.S. Supreme Court for our area. And then when it was challenged, the challenge continued. The district court then decided in favor of the community, and then that decision was upheld by the Sixth Circuit again. So unless the Sixth Circuit changes its way of looking at things or the U.S. Supreme Court intervenes, this ordinance should be good on a First Amendment basis.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. Next, under ordinances.
Been a battle I fought for a long time.
Next, under ordinances and resolution, we have Council Chairwoman Denise Malinowski Maxwell. This is a resolution of the Dearborn Heights City Council to issue subpoena for records.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Bazey.
I move the City Council to approve the resolution of the Dearborn Heights City Council to issue subpoena for records as outlined in 11A.
Support.
It's 11B.
I'm sorry, 11B, sorry.
Supported by Councilman Muscat. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Oh,
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay, so although I read this thing, obviously we got this thing late, and I know I had
I
a
got as quick
conversation with you.
as I
We got
could
it
to you.
right. There was maybe, I don't know if you want to explain to the public in general.
I don't know how far you want to go with that.
Okay, so, well, without explaining it to the public, the issue I've got with this, basically with this particular subpoena is asking for the charges that the mayor is paying to his particular law firm in defending himself in the subpoena and all that with the courts. The only issue I've got with this, if we're going to be approving something like this, then very similar to this, you know, if we're going to be asking the mayor to show proof as far as how much he's paid to the attorneys, I have no problem with that. But at the same time, previous to that, when we started with this lawsuit, when it was the initial first lawsuit that went into the court, and I know we had this discussion as far as it had not been approved by our city council, we still to this date don't have a dollar figure on that one either.
Right.
So if we're going to approve this one, and I have no problem with that, but then we should also get the dollar figure from the attorney firm, Schenck, I don't know all the total names of them.
We should see all the big
So
ones.
we should get that particular bill also, which would be a similar situation to
Well, what
this
this is basically doing is exercising our charter rights to subpoena certain records, but we're just making it official. I mean, it's already written in the charter.
Correct.
We're just making sure we cover all our bases.
one. Correct.
Is there any further discussion?
Well, if I could just note, I haven't seen it. I have no comment on it since I have not seen it.
Do you have a copy?
I don't have a copy.
I'll give you that one.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Councilman Constant?
Yeah, Madam Chair, so I just saw this for the first time sitting here at the desk, number one. Number two, the council's entitled to this information without a subpoena. Any charges, if they're going to be paid by the city, have to come through the council. And this, the last line, that failure to comply with city council subpoena shall conduct misconduct in office, that's a factual issue that can't be determined by resolution. I suppose it could be voted on later, but I don't know that that would be enforceable or even belong in here.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Thank you. I'm going to concur with Councilman Abdullah on this, where I'd like to see, I mean, this has been going on for several months. We have not seen bills, and that's concerning. I'd like to, I mean, I think that should be submitted on a timely basis and not all, in the last minute, where it feels that way. And I think, again, I just talked about being stewards of taxpayers' dollars. This goes back to this is that conversation again, that this continues to go, and there's this case, and there's this lawsuit, and now there's that, and it just keeps compounding. And it's very concerning where we're going, where we are. I mean, I don't know where we are.
On both ends.
Yeah, we really need to have that. And we
I
need
agree.
to have that assessment and have those facts
Well,
in front
this
of us.
right here, you're getting off track here. This is just for this alone. We're discussing
And I
subpoena for
understand.
records. Let's not get off track. That's another issue we should address, though. I
Yes.
agree with you.
Okay, all right.
Councilman Wenzel?
Have we had an issue getting these documents from the mayor's office?
Well, this is to make it official. Yes, we have. So, any further discussion?
But again, just to clarify, we're asking for those records, and that's fine, but we still don't have the records on the...
I know, we're getting off of base. That's another issue we will address. We should address it. But this is, let's stick to what the issue is here, that it's a resolution to issue subpoena for records. Let's stick to that, not get off on another area, because then it gets confusing to everybody here what we're really voting on.
Madam Chair?
Councilman Constant?
Have these documents been requested by the council to
Yes.
the mayor's office?
Yes.
In writing, or?
Yes. I've got the email. I don't have the exact date here.
Well,
but
it is-
At this point,
yeah.
we're
Yeah.
talking about a
Yeah.
subpoena for
We
records.
can
So
go back and
anybody
forth,
has
in
but
your
it's-
right under the
it's in
charter,
writing
yes.
now, so.
This is a charter thing. I mean,
So
we can
any
do
further
this.
discussion in regards to subpoena for records?
So, Madam Chair, just to be clear, you sent an email to the mayor's office asking for...
I sure did.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have new business license renewal for Fetzer's on the Beach, located at 5127 South Beach Daily.
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Move to approve the business license renewal application for Fetzer's on the Beach as outlined in 13A.
Support.
Support by Councilman Constant. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next under new business is a permanent traffic control device T-278, no stopping, standing, parking from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., school days only, north side of Timber Trail from Kinlock West to where Timber Trail bends north.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Abdullah.
I move that we concur with the Chief of Police, Dan Valtortoni. And this is requesting permanent signage for no stopping, standing, parking from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on school days only. And this location of this particular posting is for the north side of Timber Trail from Kinlock West to where Timber Trail bends north. And in general, this is basically right around the Kinlock School area. And the reason is having vehicles parked in the proposed area can cause excessive congestion, which prohibits traffic from flowing both directions on Timber Trail during school days, as outlined in item 13B.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have permanent traffic control device T-277, no parking signs, north side of Dockstader between Kinlock and John Daly.
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move to approve the permanent traffic control device T-277, no parking signs north side of Dockstader between Kenlock and John Daly as submitted in 13C.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have permanent traffic control device T-276, no parking signs, west side of Kinlock from Ford Road to south of Lawrence, where Kinlock ends at Kinlock Elementary.
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Hicks Clayton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move to approve permanent traffic control device T-276, no parking signs, west side of Kenlock from Ford Road to south of Lawrence, where Kenlock ends at Kenlock Elementary, as outlined in 13D.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion?
Council Chair?
Councilman Muscat.
Not that but we're going to approve all of this. How do we, I had brought up once about the cars flying down Richardson out in front of the Berwyn Rec Center. I was just there a couple of days ago, and it's just not kids, it's older people flying down that street. There's enough stop signs. I mean, we brought this up before, and they said they were going to do a study.
We're getting off what we're discussing this, and you might want to ask him.
Okay, I can ask you after.
Let's keep it to what we got in front of us. Okay, at this point, is there any questions in regards to 12D? I'm sorry, 13D that I just read. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Now we have comments from council members. Councilman Muscat, you have the
Going
floor.
back to Richardson, the cars just fly down there. And it's not just kids, it's even the older people. I watched them go by, and I feel somebody is going to get hurt there. I really do. And we only have one stop, I think it's one stop sign from Beach Daly, almost a shadow long.
From Berwood to Cronin.
Yeah, Cronin, yeah. And we've brought that up before. Way too fast. And it's not that I think they want to go fast. I think it's just a long stretch that people don't realize they're going that fast without having to stop. I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt because I catch myself doing that sometimes too. So, do I call traffic and set something up for them to look at that?
Director Gavin said we had
Write him a ticket.
our SAM unit out there, maybe an officer doing a traffic survey. Make a request to the traffic department, we'll go out there, we'll get it again.
I will call them up and do it again and see what we come up with. And
send me an email also, I'll follow up on that.
And then I've got another item here.
Sure.
That's been bothering me since the traffic light or the left-hand turn lane that went in on Van Born and Telegraph. That's got to be the worst engineered left-hand turn lane in the history of mankind. I think they did better job in Rome in 3500 BC. But saying that, in 11317, this was brought up for an engineering assistance services rendered, and it was for the left-hand turn lane options at Telegraph and Van Born Road that was going to be paid from the water department. And I've got all the backup documentation. Correct, water department. 592-536-818.000. And I flagged that, and I brought it up to the council's attention to send it back to get corrected. No documentation at all in all these years that it was corrected. Now, I'm going to tell you, the price of it was only, senior professional on it was $323.74, but I don't know how much more was added onto that. But I just want to make it clear that this is the type of spending that's been going on from the water department for many, many years up till this point. And I haven't forgot about this. And I've never, ever received anything from, not this comptroller, because this is way before her time, but I never received anything saying that was fixed. So this is what we were dealing with. And when I say water is very important, there's seniors out there that tell me they don't even flush their toilets at night because they can't afford the water bills. And that's ridiculous. It's today's day and age that we can't afford to water some flowers or water a lawn, okay? And I will be bringing back forth, and I know it's a hard subject, about a separate water meter on the outside, like other communities have, to water our lawns and our flowers, because that water does not go down a drain, it goes back into the ground. And we shouldn't have to pay the high sewage costs for it. That's my comment for the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Bazey.
Got four questions. The first one, I discussed Plant Moran. Obviously, there's charges on, since January, for, like, say, 6,000, there's 7,000, there's 8,000 charges with audits. So it's every other meeting, if not every month, there's a charge with an audit. So why are those charges? You don't have to give me an answer today, but we need an answer, at least at the next meeting. There's been charges almost at least once or twice a month with an audit, but we haven't seen any audit reports that come in front of us. Again, you know, you can just answer the next meeting, but I think we're entitled to an answer on that one, since we have $170,000 so far that we paid for an audit. The second item, I don't know if the attorney Miyake Mr. Miyake wants to answer this question, or he's still working on the double dipping concern that we brought up.
Well, I was going to send an email to you. I received additional information and discussing it with HR director. I'm addressing your threshold question with regard to the idea of a in-service pension basically being something that would be consistent with the public purpose, and I should be addressing that within the next couple of days. If you want me to address it briefly now, I could. I was actually more prepared to address the FEMA grant issue that I was directed to look at.
That's my next question.
Okay, I'm ready to address that. But the other one, I don't know if you want me to put it in writing as an email to you, or if you want me to do it like a letter, or how do you want me to do that?
If you can send an email, that would be sufficient. We just need to make sure the ordinance that you wrote a few years ago, that it complies with state requirement, and it's does. And it's not, you know, like, again, it's benefiting the public and the residents, not certain individuals.
Well,
so
it's benefiting the city, and it was passed on by a predecessor council to this body.
let's not get into that.
Well, but they believe that it did, so.
Okay, that's another topic we won't discuss here. The other topic is the FEMA grant.
Sure.
The more information that I've received, to me, it doesn't make sense. I've looked at a lot of, documents. Right now, I've seen multiple appraisals for certain properties, and I've seen appraisals, actually, somebody says, oh, I'm not an appraisal, but I can read appraisals, and I've consulted with an expert on appraisals. These appraisals don't make sense, even to an expert in writing appraisals. You got a house that you're appraising for a certain amount, and these were appraisals that I received from the mayor's assistant. They used property that sometimes is 2 miles away from the property that they're appraising. However, if you look at the last, like say, year and a half to 2 years, in the same area, there could be like 4 or 5 homes that were sold, but yet the appraiser went 2-3 miles out of the way to appraise a house at a lesser value. So that does not make sense. To me, it's shady. So we need to either hold a public hearing for the residents and the whole document that was wiped out of the website. We need to go over it. We need to go through all the appraisals that were presented to the residents and to the state. And again, that's one of the reasons that we put a resolution for forensic audit, because a lot of things don't make sense, and we brought that up. That's one of them. There's $1 million, almost close to $1 million for that particular grant that I don't know where the $1 million went. So it doesn't make sense what we told the state versus what we gave the residents. The other issue, again, if you want to talk about this now, you can, but I don't think you have enough documents to show us that what happened with this particular grant, just one FEMA grant, not including the second one.
I would be glad to answer. I think there's some fundamental assumptions made about that were extremely incorrect. And I've got my notes here. I'm ready to go through it. If you want me to do it now, or you want me to do it during public comment, however you want me to do it, I'll do it now.
I think we should schedule a public comment, and we need copies. We don't have copies of the appraisals that were submitted to the state, so we need one that was submitted. I had the one that was submitted to the residents. Again, the document disappeared, and if you look at the document, it has a lot of attachments that I don't know what those attachments were.
What document? You keep mentioning a document, and I know I didn't get called on, but you keep mentioning my name. If
I know,
it's the
because it did disappear from the system in the middle of me researching it. I did get a copy still, but it's no longer on the website. This is from April 18th, 2016.
A council agenda item?
Yes, it is. It's at 8A.
So it's not a website. Okay, so it's a grant submission.
Yes.
So a grant submission is different than what was reported. Everything that you're counting is under a BRV, which was explained to some of the council members that were there. It's called a building replacement value. This was explained a couple times, and this was also explained to the residents. I knew exactly, after watching the meeting, I wasn't in town last week, but I knew exactly what you were talking about, even though you wouldn't share any of the documents you were referring to, Councilman Bazey. You're looking at the building replacement value. So that BRV right there, there's all these different numbers in the Excel spreadsheet that you're looking at from a grant submission. The BRV is a building replacement. That's the number you get from the assessing office. That's if you take your home, that's if you take my home, that's if you take a home that was built in 1800 or a home that was built in 1950, tear it down and build it exactly the same as it was. Same fixtures, same floor plans, same everything. You're not gonna get that for a house. The next three you see that you didn't quote in the last meeting, Councilman Bazey, was the Zillow value, the Trulia value, and the fair market value. What we actually...
Those are not listed on here. And Trulia's... Did you use Trulia?
Can I please finish, though? Because I actually have this grant that was sent to the Michigan State Police, that's approved by the Michigan State Police and then by FEMA. And in the grant document, they said we had to have 4 sources, Trulia, FMV, and all those being used. What they can't say, though, is that these were reported and then these are what we paid. This is not what we reported at the state. This is a grant submission. This is what we allocated for that amount. When we actually paid This appraisal, too, was submitted to the state. And again, the council members that were on here a couple years ago remember that sometimes the state didn't approve that appraisal. When they don't approve the appraisal, they kicked it back. And we actually changed appraisers.
Get a new appraisal.
There's one property, 23470, that had 3 appraisals done until the state was satisfied with it. It's not us that approved the appraisal. Council approved the purchase agreement pending the state approving the appraisal. The residents that weren't happy with that appraisal then had an opportunity to get their own appraisal. 7 homeowners did get that.
Okay, Mr. Miyake, you have
But
something
that
to add?
actually-
Let our corporate counsel add to this, please.
If I may,
Right, 'cause I think-
part of the difficulty with the figure that was used were they were all the BRV figures, which I'm sure that Councilman Abdallah would probably be able to address, but those figures, the total replacement value is not what would be considered normal in terms of the cost. These are used homes, and an appraisal would be significantly lower than that. But you have 3 of them. So for example, for 23340 Hanover, the BRV was $136,111. The Zillow amount was $76,684. The Trulia amount was $99,000, and the fair market value was $63,200. So, I mean,
Madam
essentially...
Chair, I never once mentioned anything about Zillow or any other website.
But that's the point. The point is that these were all estimates.
Okay,
I mentioned, I'm sorry, I mentioned before that when I asked for an appraisal, and I was sent the appraisal for all these homes, it was for the lesser value.
You were sent what you asked for. You
No, I
asked
said
for
that- I didn't say
the
I want the-
appraisals that were approved.
Okay, can you send me the appraisal that you submitted to the state?
All of those I sent you were submitted and approved to the state.
Well, how come, okay, the thing is, okay, if you look at the amount that you list here to the state that you gave the residents does not match the appraisals.
It says purchase
96,000 is what I gave to the resident. This was a grant submission. Before we went to the residents, before we got the
Okay,
appraisal.
right now, just a minute, we're trying to state something. This says purchase offer amount. This is for the property located at 23530. It says $147,292. The actual amount that the resident received was $88,000. Why is there such a gap?
That's the building replacement value. Again, that's not the
It
purchase
says
offer amount.
Purchase offer amount. And I can ask Councilman Abdullah, do you use Zillow when you do appraisals in Trulia?
No, but this isn't, it doesn't say purchase office, if you're looking at the spreadsheet.
Where is that?
Can I ask a question if you don't mind?
Please, because I don't get the documents that you're asking.
Okay, so to the building replacement cost, and out of all 4 things there, just so you know, as a realtor, I can tell you with my expertise, Trulia is not used.
Right.
Zillow's not used.
Right.
And replacement value is never used.
Right.
All 3 of these are never used. As a matter of fact, if you ask me on any home, I'm not going to speak about myself in real estate, you know, just in general, realtors, all 3 of those numbers will not be used. And if a homeowner brings them up, the first thing out of a competent realtor's mouth would be, those are, I mean, they're just they just, Trulia and Zillow, all they do is advertise to bring realtors in to pay for them. So none of those numbers, the only one that matters is the actual appraisal.
Which we
And I remember at the
didn't
time,
have.
we had an appraiser do the appraisals, and they were kicked back at the time by the
Michigan
State Police. And then we had a new appraiser come out and do the appraisals. So I don't know, I don't have in front of me what they're referencing specifically.
What they're referencing is the grant submission. So before we got an appraisal, we had to put a number in.
But did they ask for Trulia and Zillow?
Yeah, they said, you
They
can use
want
that, you can use this, you can use 3 times the dollar amount. Yes, they did, and you, please call the state, don't shake your head. Because they most definitely also didn't ask for the building replacement value. Why I put all those in was to get a good enough number so the resident wasn't gonna be shortchanged. The difference, Councilman Bazey stated now 3 times is $1 million, the difference is $200,000, and that was reprogrammed.
Yeah, if I may, because that was what I was going to go over, is just like, because obviously Ms. Lazo and I had spoken about it, she gave me a number of documents. The amount paid to the homeowner for their homes were ultimately based entirely on the appraisals that were accepted by the Michigan State Police and FEMA. The homeowner received the accepted approved appraisal amount. Correspondingly, the amounts the city was reimbursed were the payments to the homeowners specifically for their homes were the same amounts, namely the appraisal amounts accepted by the Michigan State Police and FEMA. So it was $96,000 would end up getting paid to the homeowner, for example, for 23340 Hanover, I believe, and that is basically exactly the same thing that the city got reimbursed. It wasn't the $136,000 as was mentioned at the last meeting. So there's not this gap, and you go through this, and Ms. Lasso has indicated that she was going to provide me with all of this. So there's a mistaken belief that there was some discrepancy between the amounts paid to the homeowners and the amounts reimbursed to the city. And I think it's based on an incorrect assumption that what was in the grant application, the BRV, the building replacement value, was the amount that we ended up, namely the city ended up getting, and it wasn't. So, I mean, so essentially, you compound all of those, compare them to the appraisals, and then you get this big, huge discrepancy, but no one would ever say that we should be paying the building replacement value. And remember, this was a matching grant. 1/4 of this was paid by the other residents of the city of Dearborn Heights. So if we're going to be paying some, BRV figure for all of this, that means that all of the residents are going to end up having to pay an inflated value when someone ended up giving $96,000 for this home. They would be giving, we as residents, $10,000 of that would just be coming out of the taxpayers' money.
Okay, because I have another one here. This is purchase offer amount, which I'm using, $147,292. Now, that particular house got $138,000, which is pretty close to what the purchase offer amount was.
147.
See, this is where we don't know where you're saying the purchase offer amount.
Well, I'm going to give you the number, and you can request it from the clerk.
I see it in front of me, and that's what it says.
See, because I've got the BRV, and I see 147,294.
It's in the grant application.
It's dated April 18th, 2016. It was approved for agenda April 26th, 2016, and it's 8A. So you might want to request it from the clerk's office.
No, I know
and
what
then
you're
see what we're
looking at now, but what you're looking at is a grant application. Even though at that point they're approving the actual grant, the state came back, or I'm sorry, FEMA came back to what it said to the state, that was approved, and the council approved the actual grant, we didn't get the appraisals done yet. Appraisals aren't good for 3 years. We submitted this grant back in 2015. We had to get the appraisals done. We had to get the appraisals done when the homeowner was ready. Some homeowners jumped on it, some homeowners waited a couple years until they were ready. That's when we got the appraisal. Also, at this point, all the homeowners only signed a voluntary interest letter.
Right.
It wasn't voluntary participation. As you remember, there were some residents that really didn't think they were going to move. They were going to stay. And that's why we had all the alternate properties underneath.
Right, but if I could, just to put it in the sequence, the city has to end up putting in the grant application. The city doesn't have the final figures that are going to either be paid to the property owners or reimbursed to the city. So the amounts that are provided with the idea that they are estimates. That's why you have these 4 different figures. They are not provided with the idea that they are going to be the figures that the city is going to pay for the property, or that they are the figure that is going to end up being reimbursed to the city. That is where the discrepancy arises. There's just a fundamental assumption here that wasn't accurate, and we could have probably addressed it more easily under the circumstances if we kind of sat down and looked at it, all together.
Well, maybe we need to have a study session on this, because we're taking up a lot of time here, and we're not getting anything accomplished. Let's do the rest of our research, and let's agree to get together and have this during a study session so we can be done with it once and for all.
I'd be glad to assist in that.
Council Chair?
Councilman Muscat?
Would it be prudent if we had the records in front of us of what we paid and what the state was paid, what was given to the state? If we had both those records of what we paid for each home and what the state said we paid for each home, that's what I want to see. All the other stuff, forget it.
Yeah, and Ms. Laszlo has already provided me one for the one, showing that it was one, that it was 96, and it's like, okay, well, this makes sense, and that's why, and she says she has the rest of it, so I assume she's going to provide it, and then I'm sure she'll provide it to everyone else here, so.
Okay, all right, thank you, let's move on.
Madam Chair. Last question with the water fund. The water rates, every day, I know most of us, we get calls, as Councilman Muscat mentioned earlier, senior citizens having issues with almost doubling their bills, water bills, and even though they're not using more water. And the administration keeps telling the residents, you must have a water leak somewhere. But is that like all the residents? This is ridiculous, that we need to do something. I don't know what they're doing with this here, but the residents are complaining about excessive water bills. And they come check, there's no water leaks. I don't know if our water is more expensive than other cities, but I think it's the same water. So I don't know why the residents of Dearborn Heights are paying excessive water rates, even though they get billed every other week. And if you compare to cities, which is uprange from us, they're paying less for the water rates and they get their bill every 3 months versus 2 months. So I think we need to hold a hearing, public hearing, and the administration needs to tell the residents why is the excessive water bills. And again, this is not an isolated case, 1 or 2, 3, 100 residents. We're talking a lot of residents are calling with the same issues with excessive water rate increase, and there's no water leaks. So what made water in Dearborn Heights more expensive this year?
Okay, thank you. Any further comments from the council table?
Madam Chair.
Councilwoman
I just
Hickson.
want to agree with Councilman Bazey, because I've been getting a lot of calls from seniors as well and trying to decipher and go through their water bills with them, actually sit down with them. And I think having a study session definitely would be prudent.
Okay, thank you.
For that.
Any further comments from council members?
Council Chair.
Councilman Wenzel?
Well, first of all, this stuff about the buying of these hot properties, everybody's talking about transparency. This whole issue is about as transparent as a brick wall. And I mean, this has got to be cleared up. I mean, it's just mind-boggling, everything that's going on. It should be just black and white in front of us. Simple in, out, bam, But anyway, I would like to put on the, have you put on the agenda for next meeting, an up-to-date billing that the council received from our attorneys, what's your name?
Shank.
Shank, what was?
Tawil and Shank. Can we have that put on there so we can put that to bed? And also, I brought this up last meeting about the recycling, and I've had dozens of people contact me since that meeting. Are we wasting our time recycling? Can we get a definite answer on that recycling issue from somebody from the, I've talked about it for several months now, and the people want to recycle. And if this is just something to make us feel good about recycling and they throw it in a landfill, maybe they felt good about it, that's bull crap. If we're going to recycle, we recycle. If we don't, just throw it all in one bin and bury it, It's wasting our time doing that.
And then, yes,
Yeah,
the
get money
contract
back for
needs
the
to be
extra
adjusted.
bin.
Yeah. And also, I'd like it on the agenda for next month, our monthly update on Warren Valley Golf Course. It's the end of the golf season, so we can get a kind of idea how we did this season. Can we get that, a couple things on the agenda, so we can talk about this? I mean, I don't know if it's in the mayor's office or whatever, but there's flags out here at City Hall. They're in disarray. I've been told by somebody that the state of Michigan flies a flag at their Capitol building one day and they take it down. Is there someone that could look at maybe getting a used flag from the state or something? Those flags out there, they're still, the memorial's not lit. What's going out there is good, but let's just not stop with what we've got right now. Let's keep going. Let's make it something special out there. And for our recreation director, Haddad, can you give us an update on the playscape at the Swapka Park? Are we gonna have a study session on that, or what are we gonna do about that?
Well, was a study session at the last council meeting, was that requested? I'm sorry, I don't remember back then. So was that requested? Because if so, I will have it on the next agenda. So I'll research that.
Okay, let's see what I got here. Okay, that's it, thank you.
Any further comments from the council members? At this time, I will open it up to public announcements. Please limit it to 5 minutes.
Hello, Council Chair and Mayor. Just wanted to announce formally the start of our Lot Go program, Library on the Go. Delivery to your door is just a phone call away. Must be a Dearborn Heights resident and have a limitation that prevents you from coming to the library. Patrons can check out up to 6 items in-house or in-house items per person for 4 weeks with no overdue fines. Unless lost or damaged, call our outreach department at 313-791-6056 or email us at dhcloutreach2019@gmail.com. That's all for now. Thanks for your time, and see you at the library.
Thank you, and I apologize. Mr. Clerk had something, and I didn't catch that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The absentee ballots went out on Thursday. We took them en masse to the post office. The reports I have is that the first receipt of these ballots were Monday. Nobody received them earlier than Monday. That's a bit disappointing. I just want to use that as an example. I still have talked to some people that haven't gotten it today, and they were all taken at the same time. If you don't get it by Thursday, call us. 791-3432, and we'll make arrangements to get you a replacement ballot if you don't receive it by Thursday. With that being said, when you return your ballot, Post office now considers first class 5 days, folks. I would much advise that if you can get your ballot here, bring it in. We have a night deposit box. Get it to City Hall rather than use the mail. It might work out better. If you are going to mail it in, don't wait till the last week. If they're received after 8 o'clock on Tuesday night, we can't count them, and we don't want that to happen. So mail them early if you're going to mail them. And once again, you can register up to and including Election Day if you want to vote in this election. We advise not to wait until Election Day to register, but to register ahead, and you can get a ballot right away. So if there are any questions election related, you can always call my office at 791-3432. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we will open it back up to public announcements, and it's a 5-minute limit.
Good evening, Council. I just wanted to let everybody know that this coming Saturday, October 12th, is the Firefighters Open House. It's really a great event. We have all kinds of demonstrations and displays going on. We'll have the hazmat truck, the USAR truck. There'll be a Jaws of Life demo. There's some firefighter survival skills that we have a bunch of props that we got from IAFF that we do demonstrations with that. There's some really cool events there. A bounce house for the kids. The popcorn, cider, donuts, all kinds of things there. So we hope to see you guys. It's from 10 o'clock till 2 this Saturday, October 12th. All right. Thank you very much.
Good evening, council members. My name is Director Hashim. Just want to notify everybody that we listed the NOFA, which is the Notice of Funds Availability, on our website. If you go to the city website, there's a link under the department sections. You go to the Economic and Development Department, and that first link you see, it's called the NOFA, N-O-F-A, capital letters. There's a link there that will take you into the application process. So at this point, I think we are accepting any type of proposals to use the block grant money. Please do not wait till the last minute. There is a deadline, which is January the 15th. That's the deadline. But you do have 4 months. This is not for the council only, but for any organization, nonprofit organization. It pretty much details the documents necessary to provide for us to take a look at it. So please do not waste or do not miss this opportunity to apply for this money that we have. Again, if you have any questions, the department number is 313-791-3500. Please call us, please take it seriously, and let's not wait till the last minute Thank you very much, and I hope you all take advantage of this.
Thank you,
Have a
Director.
great night. Thank you. Well, the fund itself, this is basic. I'm not going to talk about how much we are going to get. I can tell you how much we got last year. Last year, we got $1,160,000 and some change. The amount of money that's available for public services, which would fall under this particular thing, is capped. So obviously, we want to get into the caps a little bit. It's 15% of that $1,100,000. That's the public services. There's other part of the grant that can be used for some infrastructure. There's no cap on that. And just to make it clear, like for example, Vista Maria, they get $30,000 usually every year. That is not under the cap, so that money can be used somewhere else if we get a viable applicant, just to let you know. In recent years, we really have not gotten any, and I'm encouraging, because I've had a long talk with HUD last week, maybe on various occasions, and they did ask me to put this out at City Council so we can get the most exposure. It is on the website. Please call me. I can go through the numbers with you, Mr. Mackey. I'll be more than happy. Just call the number. I can give you my private number as well, so you can call me. So thank you very much, and have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.
It has to be used in Dearborn Heights. Even if you are located outside of Dearborn Heights, the services have to be done in the city of Dearborn Heights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, next.
Good evening, everybody. This is Carol Slater here, and it's that time again to show our appreciation to all the veterans in the Dearborn and Dearborn Heights community. So my husband's going to talk more about it.
So this is the 14th annual event that's sponsored by the Kiwanis. And this year we have another great speaker. His name is Ulysses Boykin. He's a judge from the Michigan Circuit Court and a Vietnam veteran. And he is going to speak about his experience in the courts and also very special experience in the Veterans Court. It's a great opportunity to come out and honor our veterans. It's held at the Stitt American Legion Post, which is located near the corner of Telegraph and Warren. It's on Wednesday, November 6th at 6:30 p.m. And the evening is very special. It's an opportunity for the community to come out and show some community spirit, rally around our veterans. As I said, this event started 14 years ago in a very small event with about 50, 60 people. And over the years, it's grown to be a large event with a sellout crowd of over 200 people. So we're looking forward to the community support. We have a very nice catered dinner at the Stitt Post. Everybody looks forward to the meal. But the highlight of the evening is honoring our veterans. The Kiwanis funds any veterans from the city of Dearborn Heights that want to come and be our guests for dinner. Tomorrow night, my wife and I will be at the Stitt Post at one of their meetings, and we'll be recruiting veterans to come and be our honored guests. And there's typically 40 or 50 that come. We have great community support. Last year, the firemen donated enough money to fund 20 veterans to come. So it's really well supported. One of the features of the event is we fund 20 students from each of the local high schools: Annapolis, Robershaw, Divine Child, and we have Crestwood, and all of them come and they get an opportunity to rub shoulders with veterans. In our daily society today, some young folks may not even know veterans, so it's an opportunity for them to rub shoulders and get to know the people that have defended our freedom, and to have an understanding of the fact that the price of freedom isn't free. So we really encourage everyone to come out to this big community event and show support.
Thank you.
Council Chair, one question, please.
You want to see this?
Yeah, the flyer, so the phone number on the flyer is 313-561-5778, and give us a call. My wife is kind of the box office for the event, and she'll take care of all your ticket needs.
I do have tickets here available in case you'd like to buy some tickets today.
Donations to sponsor people, is that can be done with cash, or does it have to be check, or?
It can be done either way.
Okay.
We'll take all kinds of money, either.
I just want to make it out there that you can give cash.
And also, I just want to say that to show appreciation for Dearborn Heights, the Dearborn Heights veterans get in free. So,
Okay, Councilman Constant?
thank you.
Yeah, it's always a good event. If you're a veteran of Dearborn Heights, you get in for free. This particular judge is quite a distinguished judge. He's a Harvard Law School grad. He was the first African-American attorney to work at Dickinson Wright, and he has been really central in the development of the Veterans Court in Michigan. So it'll be a great evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's hard to follow that one up, but on October 26th, Saturday, right outside of the Richard A. Young Center, the Dearborn Heights Recreation Department and the Bedford Elementary School PTO will be putting on a trunk or treat. There will be some bounce houses there, some grab bags for the first 250 kids. It is a $2 entry fee, and this is a fundraiser for the Bedford Elementary School. PTO, excuse me, and if anybody would like to participate in the event, to be a quote-unquote trunker, we would love it for you guys to come out and hand out candy to the kids, and let's have some fun in the community.
What time?
What time?
It's going to be from 5:30 to 8 p.m., just so everybody knows.
And give me the date, the 26th.
October 26th. I did send an email to the council with the flyer. They'd have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Diane Webb, County Commissioner. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I got a couple of quick announcements for you. Good news, if you haven't read it in the newsletter, we did get the cameras approved in the county's budget. And so our meetings are available on YouTube right now, and they will be better after we get the new cameras. Right now, they're a little grainy, they're not great, but at least you can see what's going on at the county on YouTube. Once we get the new cameras and they're of professional quality, I'm going to be reaching out to you to see if you'd be willing to carry our content on your local access channel. And by doing that, you guys can keep up on all the decisions that are being made at the county. We spend $1.6 billion of your money every year. You should know what's going on. Okay, so that's one thing. The other good news is we did get the Veterans Outreach Coordinator in the budget too. Something that's been, and I've probably had conversations with some of you about this, it's always been very disturbing to me that our veterans had to go to downtown Detroit and pay to park and walk several blocks to get Wayne County services. A lot of veterans have transportation issues, or, and if they're indigent, if they're going for emergency services, they don't have 20 bucks to pay to park. So this way, we're going to have satellite offices being set up, one downriver and one in western Wayne. The specifics aren't set in stone yet. I think they're looking at Southgate and Westland as centralized locations to downriver and western Wayne. But these are communities that will offer free parking by the door on a first level, office space. So more accessibility to Wayne County Veteran Services for out-county veterans. So that's a big, huge thing because I've been fighting for it for a long time. So we got it. So that's a good thing. Last but not least, we have the 11th annual Make a Senior Smile Day. So it's coming up on November 9th, 2019. Please mark your calendars. It's 8:30 in the morning. We meet at the Eaton Center on the south end, and for folks on the north end, we meet at the Hubert O'Grady VFW post, 345 on Inkster and Schoolcraft there. And we do coffee and donuts and that type of thing for volunteers in the morning when we give the assignments. And then when folks come back from raking, we do a pizza lunch for our volunteers. I'm working on a grant right now from DTE. I'm hoping to get them to donate $1,000 to help us fund it. But we are still looking for sponsors, and because it costs about $1,500 to run it every year. So any donations, yard waste bags, water, whatever, we'll take them. And if you know any seniors that need our help or disabled veterans that need our help, we're gladly to come out and assist them. Just for your own information, GFL, your garbage hauler, donates about 15 people to come out and do this for us every year. So we appreciate that a lot. And the Master Gardeners have been with me in Dearborn Heights for years and years and years. And this year we got a call from a young man whose dad is the commander of the Disabled American Veterans Post, and he owns a lawn service. So he's coming out to help us as well. And he happens to be the Master Gardener that is involved with doing the re-beautification of your Veterans Memorial out in front of your building. Okay, so any questions, people can call my office at 313-224-0930. That's 313-224-0930. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
First, I'd just like to thank Diane in person. She was our speaker last month at the South Dearborn Heights Civic Association. She did a bang-up job.
Thank you.
Okay, so we really thank her for that. Our next meeting this month is the 24th, which is a Thursday. It's at 3335 South Beach Daily. And in honor of it being Fire Safety Month, well, I guess it's actually a week, but Doug told me you guys do the whole month. So Doug Bailey, our fire marshal, will be there, and he's going to bring his paraphernalia where we get a chance to use a fire extinguisher and put out a fire ourselves. And in addition, we'll have a couple nice people coming from Hal Peterson. I think they're planning to have a raffle for us as well. That's from 7 to 9, Thursday the 24th, so I appreciate your coming. And since I've got time, I'm going to sneak in my comment. I want to thank DPW. Last Thursday when I did Meals on Wheels from I was in the south end, there was a flooded area there at Annapolis and John Daly, and I called in the afternoon, and a really pleasant lady took the complaint and said she would get it taken care of. So congrats, and thank you very much.
Council Chair, I'd like to just speak on one of the things you mentioned. This past Saturday at the Home Depot in Dearborn Heights, the Dearborn Heights firefighters were there for Home Depot's monthly first Saturday kids workshop, and the firefighters were there, and they helped the kids with their projects, and they took them out to the fire trucks. It was a really, really nice thing. All the kids loved it, and it was nice to see you guys out there.
Thank you. Any other public comment? I'm sorry, public announcement. At this time, we will open it up to public comment. Please limit it to 3 minutes and state your name.
Good evening, everyone. Zuhair Abdulhaq. I have 3 issues to talk about. First, I would like you to ask our Chief of Police how many vacancies in the police department we have now. How many short? In personnel.
Did you want to answer that, Chief? Do you?
Vacancy officer positions?
Yes.
8.
Thank you. I would like to ask the City Council in the new budget, you make sure the safety of our people comes before anything, any money. There was lots of break-in on the weekend into many, many cars, 2 places, hookah places, passports, birth certificates, jewelry, money was taken, and I hope that we fill those positions because we deserve to have a full police force. If you like to respond.
Yeah, the 2 aren't related. It was a random spree where 3 hookah places were vandalized, at least 10 cars were broken into, and they were in and out in a matter of minutes. And we are still waiting on video from the hookah places to try to prosecute cases against these people, but the two are not related.
I understand, and I thank you for the explanation. I just want you to have the full force you need to do your job, because we want everybody really to be safe in the city. I'm not trying to score one on you, but I want you to have what you deserve. I want you to have full, support.
Thank you, but
Thank you.
We're trying to hire the people, and I just don't want the public to
No, I
think
don't.
that, it appears that the two are
No,
related.
I don't mean
and they're
that you're not doing your job. On the contrary.
Okay, thank
I
you.
just want everybody to know that we need 8 more officers, and we need to budget for them next year. So it should be on your priority. The FEMA grant, it looks like we all missing really the real picture. We need to know how much money we received from the federal or the state, how much money we paid to employees, to homeowners, demolition, architect, and all the rest of the project. The city is supposed to spend, I believe, close to $700,000 from the water fund, if I'm not mistaken. And if I am mistaken, please somebody correct me. You need to see the difference if the city has paid that $700,000 as they promised the state, or they did not. They shortchanged the resident, and they put the money back in the water fund so the city can save money on the back of the residents. That is the issue, nothing else. And I hope we have the numbers from the mayor's office or from Mr. Mayatki. The last question I have, Mr. Mayatki, you and I were here on July 30th for the special meeting, which happened, and the city council overrode the vetoes of the mayor. In your legal opinion, you told the city council the meeting which was proposed on the July 24th was okay. They did the advertisement, they followed the rules as it is in the charter, which said the city council can have more than 2 regular meetings every month if they announce it, if they follow the rules by the charter. And I believe they did, and your advice, they scheduled one for the 30th of July.
It was Mr. Shank's advice. Mr. Shank was the one who raised the idea of bringing the meeting up, because otherwise there would be a problem with the appeal period.
Okay. I can look again at the
Sure.
video. The video is there. You were there, you were duty.
He pointed out the issue, and then the council accepted his
In
suggestion.
your professional opinion as legal counsel to this city, I'm not going to say the law, the council or the mayor. You work for us. You don't work just
I work for the city.
For the city, yes, the residents, I mean.
Well,
In your legal opinion, was that meeting legal or not?
Mr. Abdelhak, here is the problem. You're asking me to give a legal opinion on something which I have basically stayed out of between the mayor and the council, other than to facilitate their ability to end up doing what they need to end up doing and to provide them information that I previously gave. I think giving an opinion on that particular issue could be prejudicial to one or the other side, and I think that that would be something that I would want to refrain from doing. And I don't know
Go
that,
ahead.
the difficulty is that there are certain points where I don't enter into it, because technically speaking, if you look at most of the litigation between city councils and mayors, usually the corporation council takes the side of the mayor. In this situation, I basically have tried to distance myself with regard to those issues, except to facilitate things being able to be done. Still have to take direction from the mayor, still have to take direction from the council. So I will decline to end up giving that opinion, given those circumstances, because I think that I'd get myself into a potential ethical issue if I go too far with that.
I believe under the charter, your duty If you see something was wrong, it is your duty by the charter, your responsibility to basically tell the city council or the mayor if they have done something wrong. And I hope if you're not capable to do so, maybe you have somebody else under your supervision to come and give that opinion. Because really, what I see right now, your conflict of interest is hindering the job of the city council. They cannot do their job properly.
Mr. Abdelhak, I have explained to people, and I have yet to end up actually receiving correspondence from a particular, the attorney for the city council with respect to not understanding what my duty is. My duty is to the city as an entity, not to the residents, but to the city as an entity, not to the elected officials or the appointed officials, but to the city as an entity. So that makes it far more complex than the idea of me taking sides or there being necessarily a conflict of interest. So, with all due respect, I appreciate your input, but I've looked at these issues and spent many nights thinking about them and trying to make sure that I do the right thing, that's all I'll have to say with regard to that.
I thank you for all what you've done for the city, but again, I don't want to bring something the judicial...
I feel that there's a possibility of a conflict. I have basically, or that there could develop to be a conflict, which is the way I did things with regard to this situation. I could have potentially have represented the mayor with regard to that litigation if you look at all of the prior stuff. But I've wanted to make sure that I would not become an issue, and that is why I have not done so. That is why I told the mayor, I don't want to get to the point, because people are already saying I'm having a conflict, even though I think they're wrong, but I am not going to end up getting into this. And now, you know, when you bring this up, again, I'm trying to avoid getting into it just from the standpoint of me being able to continue to do everything else that I end up doing for the city. So that is the point. And if there's a problem, for example, I've already publicly said that I think there is a problem with the smoking lounge ordinance. Mr. Roberts, as in Mark Roberts, has also said that. We are both declining to do anything with regard to the city because we have an issue conflict, and therefore Mr. Clark, Jeff Clark from Cummings McClory, is involved with regard to that. So if I feel that there's a conflict, I will step aside and have someone else there. I'll give them information. I will also give them direction on things that don't get into that issue conflict. But I don't end up taking any of my ethical duties lightly. So. Anyways.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Eamon, you have 3
evening.
minutes.
Sam, Dearborn Heights. Since Mr. Miyake had brought out the issue of the FEMA grant, and I don't know whether it was a coincidence that was intentionally bringing my address, my particular house several times. First of all, I would like to correct your information. The city share was supposed to be 1/3, not 1/4. That's number one. Number two, for Mr. Abdallah, I would like him to take a look at this, if you don't mind. Excuse me.
If I may, it was 1/4. It would be $2.8,700,000 would be 1/4 of that.
It was supposed to be 33.33%, which is a third.
Okay, well,
Mr. Abdallah, I just handing you this appraisal. I think if you remember, we spoke about a few months back, and you forwarded me this appraisal. If you remember when we spoken to Christy, yourself, and I, and she stated she only has one appraisal for that particular property?
Correct. I believe so. It's been a while since we've talked, but yeah, I remember.
That's not true. I have one that was complete. The city council approved it.
okay, point of order, let the, all right,
But
let's,
it's wrong information.
For you, sir? And if you would like some more, I have 2 more for you. I don't have it on me right now, but if you'd like some more, I have some more. I would like from you to please take a look at the file number on both the appraisals. And if you could read them just for the record.
All right, well, the first one's from Raftery and Associates, file number 160610DH3.
And could you please, the second one, please?
which is also from Raftery and Associates, and it's 160610DH3.
Are they the matching filing number,
They
sir?
match.
So how would you have two different appraisal on the same filing number?
I didn't hear what you said.
How would you have two different appraisal under the same filing number?
Because it was kicked back by the state.
Excuse me, ma'am, I think I'm talking to the council member. I'm not asking for any opinion from you. I think I gave you plenty of time and haven't gotten an answer neither from you or your boss who decided not to show up today for the meeting. Therefore, please.
You really need to
Okay,
stop.
point of order.
If she doesn't be quiet, please, I'm going to
Let
ask
the
you to send her
resident
out.
speak.
He is speaking through me.
If you don't want to be quiet,
Okay,
please, would you
sir.
ask the officer to get you out?
Sir? Sir, speak through me, and you're addressing Councilman Abdallah right now.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Okay, so just for clarification, you're trying to get my expertise in real
Yes,
estate.
please.
is that
I'm
correct?
just
Okay.
asked you, is it possible to have the same file number on two different appraisals?
Logically, I would say no.
Okay. Could you please take a look at
But
the
as I
second?
recall, though, at that time, there was Raftery, and then there was
There was
another appraisal
Raftery.
by
You're
Judy
you're
and Associates.
The other one from Jumana Judy, if you're gonna see them, your jaw's gonna drop. So if you could please take a look at the second page, if you don't mind, on both appraisals.
You're talking about this page?
Yes,
Or the
please.
page here?
The backside or?
It will be the second page, just the second page.
There?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If you look at the bottom part of the columns, you're gonna see something called total adjustments. If you please take a look at the addresses on top, at the bottom of the bottom of the boxes. What a coincidence, those prices just dropped down immediately, big time.
This one says 105.
And not to mind you, all these property are bank-owned, and you are prohibited in the state of Michigan to use bank-owned property while you're doing appraisals.
They usually avoid using bank-owned properties.
You're not allowed to use bank-owned property because you will not get the fair market value.
So, okay, so on an appraisal, and I'm not an appraiser, but on an appraisal, they have to use as close as possible to the property, as similar properties as possible, without crossing major boundary lines.
Correct.
Unless they find no comparables, then they have to justify at that particular point as to why they had to go beyond it. So, for example, I'm using an extreme case. If you have a home, let's say 100,000 square feet, you couldn't find one in Dearborn Heights that's 100,000 square feet. At that particular point, then they have to go beyond the norm. Or sometimes they'll do the rebuild, how much it would cost to rebuild it.
Well, could you take a look at what I asked you about, please?
Okay, now you said the total cost, sorry, I'm not able to, it's very small writing.
No.
You're talking about, can you point it out if you don't mind? Because I don't want to look while everybody's waiting.
Take a look at them right here.
Right here you're talking about?
Right there.
The exterior remodeling update, is that what you're talking about?
No, sir. It's gonna be right over here. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. And if you could read them out, I'll show just for the record. Not to mind you, these are the same identical properties on both appraisals.
Which parts is he pointing to?
This
The 13,000, okay.
I've got
So you
three.
said net adjustment total, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so on the first property at 4515 Detroit Street is 13,360. On the next one, which is 5733 Kaufman, the adjustment is 30,740. And on the third one at 5480 Academy, the adjustment is 63,980.
Now, on
Please
mine,
verify them on the second one, please.
on mine, it says
Second
3,000.
one? Oh, it's the second
She
one.
has-
3,000 Yours was 13,000. You read your first one, and I'll read my first one.
13,360.
Mine is 3,360. Then
Next one is 30,740.
Mine is 20,740.
And the third one is 63,900.
I have 53,960, I'm sorry, 980, is that?
Yeah,
I'm having trouble
980.
seeing it.
Those are for the same identical comps.
And I did.
Those numbers,
yeah,
you
I
made
did
it changed.
verify when you were saying them.
What's the reason? We don't know.
You do.
Excuse me, ma'am, I'm not talking to you. That's for the second time. The third time we're gonna ask, Madam Chair, if she ever wants to interrupt us again, please, I'm gonna ask you to get her out of the room.
Okay,
She's been very disrespectful. She have made a lot of threats to us and to other people. We're not gonna tolerate that no more.
Okay, let's be calm here. Okay. So,
Mr. Abdullah, from your experience, what do you think of these appraisals? Are they legit?
Actually, something definitely does not make sense.
no, I don't.
So therefore,
But I'm just going on based on my recollection at the time. There was an appraisal done by Rafter and Associates, this was it 2-3 years ago, was it? And I remember it was kicked back. The police department, the state police did not accept them.
The state police
Right.
told us that
But
they
why
weren't
there
going
was
to accept them
two-
because of the methodology.
But in
that
fairness
Raftery
to them,
was
why
using.
there's two appraisals from the same appraiser, I don't know.
The same
I
file
can
number.
answer that. I'm the person
according
that
to
does
the grant
grant.
itself,
I-
according to the
don't
grant
want
itself,
answers.
ma'am, I think that's your third strike.
Please.
You don't get to do that.
Ma'am,
Mrs.
Chair, please, we're
Lanslow,
gonna
please
ask
sit
you,
down.
if that was a resident who's acting like that, he'd be escorted out of the room.
I
Therefore,
know,
we're
I
asking you
know,
to get her
I
out
know.
of the
All
room.
right, let's calm down here and let's just.
Ma'am of Chair, either she gets out of the room or we're not gonna finish up this meeting.
Okay, please let the resident speak, and then I will give you a chance to speak. So,
She's been given almost, what, 3 years right now to answer? Now she just acts, she's even laughing. What's so funny for her?
yeah, I know.
That's
I'm sorry.
disrespectful.
I'm sorry. Let's continue and let's get this over with and so.
According to the grant, they were not even supposed to use any appraiser from within the city. They went and they used Mr. Rafty, who eventually took off, and he's no longer in business. Just to let you know, if you guys want to go back out there and double check on that, you guys can verify that too.
I have a friend who's a president.
And if Mr. Miyake is trying to say, if the city has to pay the extra money, that means the rest of the residents are going to be paying that. Mr. Miyake, just to let you know, we had a council member who was on board who got paid $56,000 for a flood in his basement that was not even the city's fault. And if you want to talk about that, I'll be more than happy to show you a lot of documentation on this. He even admitted himself that the fault wasn't from his house and his sewage from in his house.
Okay, well,
So
am I
please,
supposed
do
to be able
yourself
to
a
address-
favor and do the resident favor. Stop using the resident as a backup on your excuses. Either use facts or just stay quiet. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, thank you.
Can we get an answer?
Here.
I'd like to answer.
Any other, okay. Would you like to comment now?
Yes. I think there's been multiple accusations that are false. This is the first time I heard the question, but I can go back and I can tell you, there were certain adjustments that the state said weren't right, and they kicked it back. Council, if you go back in the council meetings, approved the first one, and then approved the second one when it was readjusted and approved by the state. This happened to multiple properties. After happening to multiple properties, I made a decision, I went to Gary, and I asked if we could switch from the lowest bidder, who by state bid, Rafter was in Dearborn, by the way, not Dearborn Heights, by state bid, or by bid that we went through the next lowest bidder, which was Jumana Jude, and we finished out the projects with her. Every single appraisal that was approved by the state was then put into a purchase offer unless the homeowner chose to get their own appraisal, throw it up to the state, and have the state approve their own appraisal. And that did happen with certain properties. Certain properties, homeowners were not satisfied with the amount, and they went back up to the state with their own appraisal, and the state said this is a good appraisal as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any further comment? At this time?
We have one.
Yep, we do. All right. Come up, state your name, please.
Hi, my name is Larry Henney, and I live on Hickory Court in Dearborn Heights. I wanted to discuss a problem that we seem to be having. In all due respect, I want to address it to Councilman Bazzi. Councilman Bazzi often, at the end of the meetings, will bring up expenditures that the administration has spent, and in many cases, the expenditures that the administration can't answer those questions immediately because they haven't had a chance to really look into the question. They haven't had a chance to talk to the heads of the departments to bring up those things. So possibly it could, with all due respect, you do have a right to get answers to those questions. Nobody is questioning that, but perhaps we should bring those questions to the administration, to the mayor first, give them a chance to put the answers together with the department heads, and then come back to the city council meeting and give the answers to those questions. That's my comment.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I mean, since he brought me up to this conversation, if you would have been here, or if you were here for the last 2 years I've been on the council, if you were to watch at least 5% of the meetings that we've had, you would understand that the frustration that most of us that said, and you disregarded some of the comments that other council members have brought up over and over and over. Okay, when you present anything to anybody, it is the responsibility of the person who's presenting the information to know what the information is being presented. Okay, it's us, the council, we get this package. Obviously, you know, Friday they're shut down, they're part-time workers in the city hall. You know, we don't have, okay, there's nobody here at the city hall on Friday. We, as the council, we go through the package. I know I go through it, you know, page by page. Okay, it's not my responsibility to go through, call somebody every item on the agenda. Hey, what's up with this? What's up with that? I've asked the mayor that 2 years ago. I remember we had the Paletko show. The council chair and myself were on his show. And I told him, you can go to YouTube and look it up. I told him from day one, before I took council, that what we expect the council chair and myself, we want information to be presented, and we presented a document that we work together that explains everything, that has to be thorough, so which would prevent a lot of issues what we're having right now. But the mayor decided he didn't want to use that form. That form is being used by multiple cities, and that's why a lot of other cities' council meetings go a lot quicker. I have a lot of friends with other councils. I have a lot of friends who are mayors, not just in Michigan, various states, and I've talked to them over the last 2 years I've been here. Every one of them uses this form. It's a standard form that the mayor refuses to use. He wants to keep us in the dark. So we show up here, you know, we go through this item, the agenda, item by item, like the invoices. These numbers don't match. I remember myself and Councilman Muscat brought up the issue. You have a budget. It's like a checking account. As a CPA, he should know that. You have $1,000 in your account. When you start spending money, you're not going to have $1,000 in your account. It's going to go down, obviously. It's not balanced. So what do you want me to do? To call, hey, how come this? I mean, they should know that. They're presenting us with this facts, with this information, and we're questioning it. And again, if you go watch these council meetings, you would know, even probably a year from now, you'll be saying the same thing. How come you're not asking that question? Well, we did, and it's not being answered.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? State your name, and you have 3 minutes.
How many minutes?
3.
My name's Lawrence Still, and some of you I've known for years, some of you I've just met recently. I think I've dropped envelopes in all your mailboxes, and I've talked to you, and I've passed out this.
Excuse me, sir, before you proceed, were the envelopes open when you put them in the mailbox?
Well, yes, I resealed them.
No, they were open when
On
we
the end, cut.
mine was open. I just want to make sure, did you cut the end of it off?
Yes, and I did put tape back on it.
There was no tape on it, so it was open. I just want to clarify.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so anyway, I've been in contact with Mr. McIntyre, and him and I have had some discussions, and we've come to some things. But anyway, concerning a house on my street, in fact, they're here, they're all here. Ordinance, McIntyre, we've said once, I'll read this to you if you want to follow me. I'll do this quickly. Number 1, said that once they purchase the vehicles from the auction house, they get them over to Harding Street. He says they've got 48 hours, you know, to get to the Secretary of State's office to get plates and have insurance on the vehicles. After that, if they don't, they're gone from the property. Okay, how do they know once they get to the Secretary, if they get plates and everything for each vehicle, and not just slap any old plate on the vehicle? or, juggle these vehicles around plate by plate, this and that. And number three, who's gonna monitor these vehicles? Is ordinance department gonna monitor each vehicle? They're gonna come by every day, are these abandoned vehicles from these auction houses, are they gonna monitor these vehicles daily, weekly, monthly, every 48 hours, every time they go to the auction house and bring a vehicle back? Who's gonna monitor these vehicles? And, how many vehicles can he bring over? Every day can he go to the auction house, bring a different vehicle over, bring 2 or 3 vehicles over, bring them over in the daylight, have them flatbedded over, have them driven over. How many vehicles can he have? Can he bring 3 or 4 or 5 vehicles over, have them not go to the Secretary of State or go to the Secretary of State's office? Who's going to know if he goes to the Secretary of State? Who's going to know if he has insurance on these vehicles or not? How long does these vehicles have to sit there? Who's going to monitor these? Nobody's going to monitor. Ordinance isn't going to do it. He says, well, we have people in the area. When he goes down the street, he will monitor these vehicles. He's not going to do that. They work 4 days a week. He tells me they work 5 days a week. I've been here I retired from this city after 30 years. My last 15 years were working here in the water department right down the hall. I've been here at this city hall for the last 3 Fridays. All your ordinance vehicles were sitting here in the parking lot. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. They were. They were all sitting here.
Okay.
They were not working. Anyway, let's get back. I don't want to
Time's getting close.
I don't want to begrudge the fact or anything. But who's going to monitor these vehicles? He says he's got people in the area. He's not going to put people up and down Harding Street every day, Monday through Thursday. They only work a half a day on Thursday because they've got to go into the office and do their paperwork on Thursday afternoon from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning. Okay, let's not begrudge the fact. But anyway, they're going to get tired of monitoring these vehicles. It's not going to happen. So let's move on. What they're doing is they're buying from auctions, they're detailing, and then they're reselling these vehicles, okay? Auction houses to Harding Street to the customers on Harding Street, okay? This is qualified to me as a business.
Okay, sir.
Profit is being made. An income is being made, okay? An income is being made selling and buying vehicles in a residential area.
Okay. Sir, your 3 minutes are up at this point. I need to stop. I can appreciate what you're saying. This is happening a lot in the city. I personally have this in my own neighborhood, too. I know what you're saying. I've seen the same license plate on more than one car. I mean, it's been on several cars, the same plate. So I know what you're saying. I'm not sure at this point what we can or can't do.
Okay.
But I can appreciate what you're saying. Is your number, we have your number.
Council Chair?
Councilman Muscat?
Do we know that if a business is a used car lot is being used out of a household? Is that what's happening, Ms. McIntyre?
Can I speak now?
Yes.
I'm asking the question. Because if indeed someone's buying cars and then reselling them from their house, that's a used car lot.
And it's a commercial business and a residential, if that's the case. If that's the case.
Okay, just for clarification, Councilman Bosley just left, but maybe someone can let him know. I'm not part-time. I've never been part-time since I started here. My department is open 5 days a week. It wasn't originally when I first took over as director, but I found out through the union that I can work full-time folks and a part-time person with them on Friday and or Saturday. So I chose to open up 5 days a week. The building isn't open, but my guys are out. I have a full-timer and a part-timer that work on Friday. You probably saw most of the cars because only 2 people are here, and one of them is driving the animal truck on Friday because he's responsible to do animal control. So just to be clear one more time, and I get a lot of calls from people, and people stop me in the hall all day long. 2 people today that said, Mr. McIntyre, I don't know why you continue to do this with the way people talk to you.
I'm asking you a question about the used car.
So just in terms of the comment he made about the Secretary of State, The Secretary of State actually allows you 3 days. We call it 48 hours because if you get the car on a Sunday, we know that the clock is ticking, so we say 48 hours. When we first went to this property, the first time, there wasn't a car in the driveway. His personal vehicle was there. So the question is he operating a business? From our perspective at this point, he is not, because the ordinance doesn't restrict anybody from buying a car, putting the car into their name, working on that car, and then making the decision to sell that car. My brother did it the whole time I was growing up on the house that I lived in. He would buy a car, he would invest money, some of them he would take to his shop class, at his auto class at Fortson High School, and he would turn around and sell the car. So what I can enforce, and I explained this to the council person that came to visit me today to talk about this, because there's been lots of discussion about this. By the way, this letter, and I talked to you about this, Mr. Dillon, went to everybody but me. And I finally got a copy of it because Councilman Muscat brought me a copy. So if we go by the property and he doesn't have a plate, then the officer, as a rule, schedules a follow-up to make sure that in the next 3 days there's a plate on that vehicle. So that's what Officer Bunker will do. He's the one that works in your area, and that's what he'll do after today's visit. Because when he went there today, there were 3 vehicles. 1, that's his personal vehicle plated to him. 2, his brother's vehicle that's plated with an out-of-state plate, which he can have a visitor and that car at his house. There was a 3rd car there, doesn't have a plate. Officer Bunker will be there in 3 days, or somebody in his place if he's not here, to make sure that that vehicle is plated. So I think that answers the question. As it stands right now, I don't view this as a business that's happening there. Different than what Council Chair, with respect, reference. This particular situation is not what I think you're seeing, where it's cars that are constantly coming and going, plates being switched. If this gentleman that lives near you takes the time to go and register that vehicle in his name, get a plate in his name, he can do whatever he wants with that car. It's his car on his property. If he decides to put some money into it and turn around and sell it in a week or 2 weeks or 2 months, he really is allowed to do that. It's his private property.
If it's in his name through the Secretary of State and it's insured.
Well, I'll tell you what the ordinance actually says, if it's operable. Operable means that it can't have a flat tire. Operable means that it needs to have insurance and that it needs to have a current plate.
He has to go to Secretary of State after 48 hours, within 48 hours, and get it insured and licensed.
Within 3 days, he has to get a plate from the Secretary of State.
At this point...
Not just a plate that he's got laying in his garage somewhere.
Okay, at this point, we're over time. We need to let the rest of the residents that are waiting speak. There's a 3-minute limit, and you have exceeded that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your name, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Bobby Kelly. I am the resident that he is speaking of. Yes, there was a blue Ford Escape that I did buy last night at midnight. I did not have a chance to go to Secretary of State until this morning. Ordinance Officer Bunker did stop by, left me a notice. I called him back immediately, told him what the situation was. Ordinance Officer Bunker and I, we've spoken a couple times because he's come out because of my neighbor's accusations. We've spoken quite thoroughly about this. Officer Bunker and I are on an agreement and an understanding. He's informed me of the exact same thing. Put the vehicles in your name, legally have a license plate on them, make sure the tires aren't flat. If I come out here and say, can you get in this car and turn the key, will it start? If it starts, you're not under any ordinance, you're not breaking any ordinances, which I have not broken from listening to the statements made today. Do I buy cars, put them in my name, drive them around for a while, and fix them up and sell them later on? Yes, I do. And currently I bought the Ford Escape for my wife because it's a stick shift, and she told me she wanted to learn how to drive a stick shift. So I went and bought a cheap clunker car that I can put a little bit of work into. She can drive a stick. If she blows the clutch up in it, hey, I can call Taylor Auto Salvage and I can junk it. You know, it's a hobby. I work full-time at Dearborn Collision right up the road. You know, I came into this city because I love this city. I've lived here off and on for the last 7 years. I have never had a problem with anybody in Dearborn Heights whatsoever. I've been doing this for the last 7 years. And other neighbors have told me things that, because Lawrence has worked for the city of Dearborn Heights, he kind of has he loves this city, and they think that love kind of gets a little skewed sometimes with what he thinks personally in his mind is right. And I can't blame him for that.
Council Chair, I want to just comment. We've had a lot of people just go out and buy cars, bring them to their house. They've blocked city streets with flatbeds, bringing cars in, slap a for sale sign on them and sell them. It's a used car business. This is what we're trying to stop. People that want to sell used cars, they can go get a used car business somewhere in the city. That's what I think is what's in the minds of people.
Correct, yes.
Okay, so that's something that I don't want to even tolerate, is have homeowners run a used car lot out of their homes. We've seen it where my mom lives, where on a weekend, you can't even go down the street with people coming in there looking at vehicles.
Yeah, I've experienced
it
I
gets
can understand
ridiculous.
that. I can appreciate that.
Okay, and so I understand your point, but I also understand his point when you see car coming in, car coming out, car coming in, it's like a revolving door.
Right, and the vehicle that he's actually talking about being flatbedded in, it was my personal vehicle that, it was a 2010 Taurus show. I had a turbo go out in it, and it started smoking really bad. It was a danger to drive on the road. I called AAA at 7 p.m., said, hey, can you pick my car up? I'm broke down the side of the road. The car was an hour away from home. They didn't pick the car up until 11 o'clock at night. It got delivered at midnight. And that's what happened that time. That's the only time I've ever had a car flatbedded there, and I don't know where he's getting this information about auctions. I don't have an auctioneer's permit or anything to go to an auction to buy a car at all. And if I do buy and sell a car, it's maybe 2 cars every 2 months. Because I personally, I get bored with the same vehicle. I'll buy a car, I'll drive it, like, oh my God, it's like that new, it's like all the kids nowadays, like, oh my God, I gotta have the newest iPhone, even though I just got a new iPhone a month ago. With me, that's cars. I'm a car enthusiast. It runs in my blood. A lot of people say I got a gas tank for a brain. I got a lot of family that comes over too that need help with their cars. Like they'll have, like my brother's in town right now. He's got a red Ford Focus. It needs tie rod ends. So I'm putting tie rod ends on it for him, so he doesn't have to go and pay $500 at a shop for them to do tie rod ends and tell him he needs stuff he doesn't need.
Okay, thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Howdy.
Hi.
Let me first tell you, my name is Francis Costas, okay? I did 35 years in the military, that's 6 years in the Marine Corps, 29 years with the Army National Guard, so I believe in Michigan. And then I worked in Milan Federal Prison as a counselor for 24 years. I'm retired, man. I'm like pushing 64. I'm like on top of the world. I'm a quiet guy. I'm sorry, a little touchy here. I'm a quiet guy. I think I know you somewhere. But anyway, I got nothing to do but to watch TV. I mean, this guy is out of control. He needs his meds. The thing is, I be talking to somebody, he'll be flying, you're talking about me, you're talking about me. Why would I want to talk about you? There's nothing there. And then he's, I don't know how to say it, he needs that medication. And no laughing in the back. So anyway, the bottom line is, he's just going crazy. I'm the neighbor next door. This guy's a good guy, he's got his wife too. They're trying to make a life out of it. There's no problems there. I keep away from him like fungus, man. I said, oh no, should I go out today? Or is Igor going to come and get me? But maybe I need the 3 minutes out. But anyway, the bottom line is, this guy's a good guy. I just said to you, I was in the military, serving my country. I did 2 tours in Iraq. I retired as an E7. Sorry, God. I saved people over there, and people saved me. Now I gotta live in this place, which I lived for about 8 years, and I gotta worry about something he did. I had a camera out there. Allegedly, he may or may not take the camera, but the camera's gone. So this guy, I'm telling you, man, relax. Time's up.
Thank you. You have good night now.
It's too early for a good night.
Oh, my God.
No laughing on the dance floor.
That's my neighbor.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment?
Oh, my God.
Mike Blackburn, Superintendent Building Maintenance Department, City of Dearborn Heights. This is for Councilman Wenzel to clear up the record. The flags you're talking about have been replaced. As a matter of fact, they were replaced before last council meeting. You're able to come here during the day when the sun's out, see the flags. They've been replaced. There's nothing wrong with any of the flags. So I just want to correct the record on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought they were.
We could move to adjourn.
Okay, do I hear a motion to
Motion to
end our
adjourn.
meeting?
Support.
Support by Councilman Abdullah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.